Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Let's meet with Jan Dougan again. She is with Purdue Extension. She is the Extension Educator. Jan, it's always a pleasure to have you come on the show and talk about why. We talk about a big variety of things, mostly food and good eating.
We have been talking a lot about food and good eating and why we need to eat more fruits and veggies primarily. And you know, I think people are listening and people are watching because I'm getting a lot of feedback from people about questions about particular recipes or about produce or that they saw me on in.form. So I really appreciate you guys and the opportunity that you give me to come here and share this great information with everyone.
Well, this might be a good time to let people know it's also on our YouTube page that any of the old past shows that we have done are uploaded there, and you can watch some shows that may be a topic you're interested in. Jan, let's talk about peppers. You brought a cornucopia. You know, peppers, it seemed when I was young, I remember mangoes. Okay? And that was about all the peppers anybody ever really grew were mangoes.
And that was probably a green pepper that you're referring to. And I remember my mother-in-law calling them mangoes for many, many years. And in reality, a mango is a tropical fruit. And we can purchase those in the grocery stores, but they are not grown locally. And what we were calling mangoes were green bell peppers. So that is one pepper that you could be growing in your garden, or you could be purchasing at our local farmers markets that we have throughout the county.
And there are so many different kinds of peppers using for different uses. A lot of times people think of peppers as hot, and they're not. Some, like the green bell peppers, are not as hot, but then of course the habaneros or the jalapenos are. But you brought some peppers in different kinds, and you know, I see this one is I would have thought this is a green pepper, but it's awfully dark.
It's darker. It almost has a black tint to the green color, and this is called a poblano pepper. And if you frequent any of our local Mexican restaurants, you might see those on the menu, a stuffed poblano pepper. Right. And you can grow these yourself in the garden. They are warm, so when you prepare these peppers, whether you're preparing them for cooking or you're preparing them for freezing, what you would want to do is wear gloves when you wash them in cool running water and slice them, because that oil that's in the pepper can get on your fingers, and then if you touch your eyes, that can hurt your eyes and it can burn. So you want to be careful in handling any kind of hot pepper, whether it's a poblano pepper or a jalapeno pepper, or I even have some of these long thin green ones that are a hot chili pepper. So just take caution in using these peppers, but they're great to enjoy in a lot of different stews or soups or dishes that you might want to prepare at home.
What makes the pepper hot? Is it the seeds or is it the pepper itself?
That's a very good question. I'm not exactly sure on the answer of that. I've heard different things, but I've heard that it's in the membrane. And I've also heard that it's in the seeds. So that's something that we're going to have to check out, what makes it hot.
Well, one thing is, it is important that you wash your hands multiple times. I know people who have washed their hands multiple times after working with jalapenos, and that burn is still there. That oil, I guess, is really a very penetrating oil, and it can, and somebody I know went through several pairs of contacts the next morning, even though they washed their hands many times because of that. A chili pepper, is that hotter than a poblano?
No, I don't think it's hotter than a poblano, but it's a different kinds of hotness. So, you know, you might want to put that in soup. You know, I really like the poblano peppers. What you could do with this pepper or any of these peppers is when you're grilling meats, you could have washed the pepper and dried it, and then you just throw it on the grill whole as a pepper, and you're kind of like searing the outer side, browning it, turn it several times with tongs on the grill, and then the outside will get blistered or brown. You take those inside, you put them into a paper sack and let them steam a little bit, and then this outer covering you can just take off. Slice the peppers. You can use it just on your side plate with your chicken or your pork or your beef. Just a nice heat. It's not a hot, it's just a nice spicy heat.
Now, you're the first person I know that has grown poblano peppers. I know it's a pepper that a lot of people have had, but I've never really seen somebody have one.
Well, very easy to grow in our gardens, even despite the fact that you know, this year has not been a year with a lot of water. The peppers are doing fine. Tomatoes not doing so fine, but the peppers are doing very, very fine. So I'm going to have a nice crop of peppers, which, you know, I can't eat all these peppers at one time. I like these in salads. These are just similar to a bell pepper, only a little bit sweeter flavor, and they're a pale yellow color when they're ripe. And this pepper is great just to slice and use in dip or use in salads. Or you could stuff this pepper. This poblano is a great pepper to stuff with ground beef and then put some melted cheese on top for an entree. That's a great way to eat that. But peppers are a great thing to have, but since so many of them come on at once, and you can't use them all, and you maybe want to give some to friends or family and share your harvest from your garden, or you might want to freeze those peppers. And you can do that without blanching. And if you recall, Bill, we talked about blanching. Do you remember what blanching is? That's
when you just kind of boil it for just a bit and pull it back out.
Right. You bring your water to a boil and you put the produce in the water and let the produce be in there to stop the enzymes from growing. But you don't have to do that with peppers. You can actually just wash peppers, clean them, slice them however you want to use them. I recommend that if you want to stuff a pepper, you either just take out this inside and take out the seeds and clean it and freeze them whole. That takes up a lot of space in your freezer. So you could have the pepper, put it on a cookie sheet in the freezer until it freezes, and then put them in zip-tight baggies to freeze in your freezer for later use. Now know that the peppers aren't going to be quite as crisp as they are fresh when they've been frozen and then for later use, but there's still going to be a little bit of crispness to it. And when you think about a stuffed pepper, it's really not crisp after you bake it anyway.
Right.
So that would work. If you want to use, if you have jalapenos that you're growing in your garden, unfortunately, I missed picking up the jalapeno plant. And so I did not get any jalapenos planted in my garden this year. But in the past, I've had jalapenos and they are very plentiful. And if you like to use those in Mexican dishes or on nachos, something like that, if you want to slice them and freeze them on a tray and then put them in a zip-tight baggie, you can just pull those out and throw them into your dishes and use them later on in the wintertime when we want something hot and warm, right?
Right. Well, now you mentioned slicing them and freezing them individually on the tray. So you can't just take a bunch of peppers and throw them in a bag and put them in the freezer.
They won't. No, that isn't the best way to do it. And you know, you don't want to freeze the seeds in there. You don't want to freeze the stems. You want to go ahead and wash them and clean them. Take out any inside membrane or anything and freeze them for later use. And think about how you want to use them and freeze them in that method, whether they're strips or slices or wedges or halved, however you want to use that particular pepper later on. And know too that you need to use them in about a year's time. So don't freeze any more than what you're going to use.
Okay, and so it's pretty easy to freeze peppers then. A
Very
lot easier than I
easy.
would have thought.
Very
Maybe
easy to do.
Maybe the easiest of anything out of the garden.
I would say that, and blueberries, which are very prevalent right now. So blueberries, if you want to freeze those, you freeze those the very same way. You wash them, pat them dry, put them on a cookie tray or cookie sheet, freeze them on the tray, and then bag them in a zip-tight baggie for use later on. So that's easy too. So two very easy things that you could put up for use later on.
Okay, one of the most important things then is probably to freeze them. You're freezing them individually is what you're doing so that they freeze better and more solid, rather than if you put them all in a bag together and then try and freeze it. The ones on the inside, it's going to take a while to freeze.
That's true, but think about use, end use. If you slice this pepper up into strips and you throw a bunch of strips into a zip-tight baggie and throw it in the freezer, what's going to happen?
They're going to all stick together.
Exactly. They're going to freeze together in a clump. So it's manageable. I mean, you could cut them apart and use them, but it's so much easier to freeze the strips on a cookie sheet, throw them in a bag. They freeze separately, so they're loose in there, just like a bag of M&Ms. Okay? They're loose, so you can reach your hand in there and get out what you need for your recipe that you're cooking that particular day.
Now this is a chili pepper.
Yes.
Not to be confused with a banana pepper, correct?
True, true.
Because I know what I really like is a pickled banana pepper.
A pickled banana pepper, which would be similar size, similar shape, but would be yellow in color, right?
Right. And then those you can either do them whole after you clean them, or you
Right.
can do them in rings.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And if you would want to pickle your peppers, we would recommend that you go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, to that website, and get the proper directions for pickling banana peppers. Or you could call our office and we can get the recipe for you.
Yeah, you guys are full of so much information that people can call and you'll get us going in the right direction.
We try.
All
We
right,
try.
Jan, anything else about peppers?
I think that's about all I really wanted to share. I just want people to enjoy their garden produce, or if you see a good bargain at a local farmer's market, pick up some extra peppers so that you can go ahead and prepare those and freeze those so that you'll have those for use later on when you want them. It's great to try to buy locally and buy and support our local farmers market by purchasing produce there. It's the freshest it's going to be. Usually comes right from our geographic area here within Du Bois County or the surrounding counties. So you know that it's grown right here at home, and it's great eating and great for you.
And another good way to eat peppers is just take a green bell pepper, slice it, dip it in dip, and eat it.
Oh yeah.
It's always just fresh, right, straight there.
Right.
Well, hot or not,
great.
peppers are to be enjoyed. And you can pretty well get them all year round if you don't get them now. And we found out about how to freeze them. Jan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our guest has been Jan Dougan. She is the Extension Educator for Purdue Extension here in Du Bois County. Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We are local people watching local people.